This is Cydni.
And I'm Sher. And each week we get together to share with you a message of hope.
It is through our own study and our personal experiences that we offer the reminder to not only seek the light,
but be the light. You can find peace, and there is hope.
And as long as one of us is slightly caffeinated, there will be laughter.
Today's episode is Patience.
And we're so glad you're here.
I'm forging my way through the tip top. I'm living my life through the drip drop when eternity.
All right, Cydni, this is our favorite topic. We're going to talk about patience today. So what do you have over there?
This was a good one for us, not because we needed to learn about it, but because we're naturally so patient. We are the poster children for patience. We never get flustered. We're always on time. We're always easygoing. We have a lot to offer. We're incredible and patient and humble. How about that for an intro, Sher?
It was all a big bundle of lies, but yeah, keep going.
I will say I have a shout out for you, Sher.
Oh, for me?
Yeah, because I think that patience is difficult because we live in a world where you get things so quickly, thanks to Amazon and social media. And if I have a question, I could find out the answer so quickly. It doesn't mean it's the accurate answer, but I could find something that satisfies my mind. And so we're used to that, as we know. And I think that sometimes taking the first step in something that's going to take a long time is overwhelming. And I feel that way. And I recently felt that way when our landscapers left a gigantic pile of debris right by our trash bins. You came over and we talked about it. I can't remember what was said. I think it was something like you trailer trash, hoe bag.
Yeah, that's exactly what I didn't do. But yeah, keep going.
That's how it felt when you looked at the pile. Also, I noticed you judging my baseboards recently, and I think that's really rude, Sher.
I don't even know what your baseboards look like.
That's not what your judging eyes told me.
Trust me, I didn't notice. Anyone that knows me, I did not notice.
Don't ruin my story in my head.
Okay, keep going.
Anyway, Sher suggested, she said, once we had a similar situation, and what we did was just took some of it and added it to the bin every week, and eventually it was gone. And I thought, of course, that's logical, but I can never do that because the pile's too big, and I want it all gone right now, which it made sense to me. Well, I wanted to feel inspired in that moment and start that very day, but I did not. It sat there for at least another 6 weeks, massive pile of whatever they just decided to leave there, some sort of modern abstract art of landscaping on the sidewalk next to the bin. Thank you guys. But I made a change. I was out there one day and I said to myself, you know what? It's time. This is going to take a few weeks, but if I don't start now, it's going to stay the way that it is. And so I listened to Mother Sher. I listened to her words.
Sher, please.
And that very day, I started shoveling a little bit because it was heavy. There was some stuff in it that made it heavy. And I started shoveling a little bit every week when I took out the bins. And guess what?
What?
Today was the last shovel.
Yay!
It's gone. I did it.
You did it.
Thank
Good job.
you. Thank you for your input and your help and your wise wisdom.
You're so welcome. I actually don't even remember any of that. So,
Really?
No.
I could have taken all the credit.
You could have, but good. I'm glad I said something that was helpful.
You did. And I thought about that today as we prepared. We talked about timing and patience. And I remembered that was a really long-term project for me. It was like 5 weeks worth. It took so much patience. I wanted it all done right then. But all good things don't happen immediately. Some takes real work. I did it a little bit at a time, which was so soul-crushing to me, but I did it.
But doesn't it feel good now?
So satisfying. I've told 17 people since 9 a.m. that I'm done with the dirt pile. I told them, look who's not a little trailer trash hoe bag anymore. This lady.
Good job. I'm really proud of you.
Thank you. That's my intro for today. What do you got?
I can't top that, but I am going to tell you a story.
I love stories.
It's called the Daffodil Principle. Have you ever heard this story before?
Am I supposed to say no, even though you briefly told me about it a few days ago?
Yes.
No, tell me more, Sher.
So this is a story about a mom and her adult daughter who had children. And her daughter moved up to the mountains with her husband and her children. And she really wanted her mother to come and visit her. It was like a 2.5-hour drive. And she kept saying, Mom, please come up and let's go see the daffodils. Well, Mom really didn't want to drive that far to go look at the daffodils, but she was motivated to go see her grandkids and her daughter. So she decided that she was going to go up like on a Tuesday or whatever. And when she woke up that day, it was cloudy and a little rainy. And she was really super nervous about driving up the hill while it was raining. But she did it, even though she was scared. And by the time she got to her daughter's house, she was like, I don't want to drive anymore. I don't want to go see daffodils. I just want to stay here, hang out with you and the kids. And when it clears up, hurry and drive home because that was way too scary for me. And her daughter's like, okay, I understand. It's all good, but could you take me to go pick up my car? It's just at the mechanics. I need to go pick it up. So her mom said, all right, fine, we can do that. Then her daughter said, why don't you let me drive because I'm used to driving in this. So she gave her daughter the keys and then they take off. Next thing you know, they're not going to a mechanic shop. Mom realizes, wait a minute, this is not the correct way to the town. We're going back up the mountain. She realizes that her daughter kidnapped her, so to speak. And she's like, what are you doing? I don't want to drive up the mountain anymore. And she's like, Mom, I'm used to driving in this. It's not a big deal. So they take their little drive up the mountain and she pulls off and there's a sign that says Daffodil Garden. So she gets out and they go on their little hike to go see the daffodils. In this part, I'm going to read what she wrote. Then as we turned a corner, I looked up and gasped. Before me lay the most glorious sight. It looked as though someone had taken a great vat of gold and poured it over the mountain peak and its surrounding slopes. The flowers were planted in majestic, swirling patterns, great ribbons and swaths of deep orange and creamy white, lemon yellow, salmon pink, and butter yellow. Each different colored variety was planted in large groups so that it swirled and flowed like its own river with its own unique hue. There were 5 acres of flowers. Who did this? She asked her daughter. Just one woman was the answer. She lives on the property. That's her home right there. So they walked over to the house, and on the patio, they saw a poster that said, answers to the questions I know you are asking. The first answer was a simple one. 50,000 bulbs, it read. The second answer was one at a time by one woman, 2 hands, 2 feet, and 1 brain. The third answer began in 1958. For me, that moment was a life-changing experience. I thought of this woman whom I had never met, who more than 40 years before had begun 1 bulb at a time to bring her vision of beauty and joy to an obscure mountaintop. Planting 1 bulb at a time, year after year, this unknown woman had forever changed the world in which she lived. 1 day at a time, she had created something of extraordinary magnificence, beauty, and inspiration. The principle her daffodil garden taught is one of the greatest principles of celebration. That is, learning to move forward our goals and desires 1 step at a time, often just 1 baby step at a time, and learning to love the doing, learning to use the accumulation of time. When we multiply tiny pieces of time with small elements of daily effort, we too will find we can accomplish magnificent things. We can change the world. I love that. It's so beautiful the way she wrote it. Just imagine this mountaintop, 5 acres of daffodils, beautiful flowers that this one lady worked on slowly but surely for over 50 years. And remember, this is what we're doing here in this life. We are just going 1 step at a time, making small changes, but those small changes can lead to huge changes, as you discovered with your trash situation. You put a little bit of trash in the bin every single week, and after a few weeks, it was all gone. That's what she did, only with bulbs and daffodils.
Right. Look at that. We're talking about making something beautiful and creating nature. And then my story is basically about throwing nature into a trash bin. It's exactly the same story.
Okay. I think it is the same story because you did make your space look a lot better.
It's true. Because sometimes to make changes, we are ridding ourselves of trash. And sometimes we're adding color and beauty. I actually really wanted to see a picture of it. So I apparently don't know how to spell daffodils.
Well, I'm not going to judge you because I didn't realize that I have been spelling the word daffodil wrong.
How do you spell it?
There's no E on the end. It's Daffodil. That's it.
Really?
I'm pretty sure that my whole entire life I've put an E at the end of daffodil.
Yeah, don't you guys say you didn't learn anything from this podcast today? And there's nothing like a good story of deceit and kidnapping to illustrate patience. Thanks, Sher.
You're so welcome. Anyway, I think it's important for all of us to remember that patience comes 1 step at a time. That's how we learn and how we grow. We want it to happen right now, but that's really not how it works. You just got to be patient with yourself. So what we're going to do is talk about the different elements and parts of patience. I read a talk from Elder Worthland, and he talked about having patience with others.
I'm not interested in this topic. I don't have patience with anyone else. Have you recently done carpool? If you have not recently done carpool, you can't sit here and tell me to have patience with other people. Actually, let's do this topic.
Okay.
Maybe I need it.
So the first thing Elder Worthland said is that you need to have patience when you're in carpool. He said specifically when you're dropping kids off at the elementary school that you need to take deep breaths, calm yourself, and it'll be okay. And actually, he didn't say that at
You're
first
just
one for
following
you.
the Holy Spirit's words.
Exactly.
Thank you.
But what Elder Worthland said is we need to have patience with our family members.
Yeah, you're getting out of control today. Patience at carpool, patience, family members.
He said he thinks it's interesting that so many of us have been taught to be polite to strangers, and then you yell at your family when you're at home. He said it should be polite to everyone.
I thought you were going to say yell at strangers and be polite to your family. So I was like, that's a good compromise. So did I get it right?
No, be polite to everyone.
I would never yell at a stranger. I hate confrontation, but I would think about it.
The next thing he said is be patient with your children.
Like other people's children.
Your children.
Be patient with strangers' children.
Your
Yell
children.
at strangers, but be patient with their children.
No, be patient with your children. Be patient in teaching them the love of learning and gospel principles. That one's hard because as a teacher, I'm just telling you right now, it's hard teaching children to learn anything because you just are like, will you please stop it and listen for 2 seconds, or you just do it yourself? Like, give me that and I'll finish it.
Exactly. Every single chore in my house, I've talked about it before. I'm not alone in this, but it is true that teaching a child how to do a chore takes 7 years longer than just emptying the dishwasher yourself. We literally have to reload the dishwasher before a child can empty it. But maybe it's the teacher, me in the house.
I think you're doing a great job, Cydni. You're
I was
good.
digging for a compliment.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
He also pointed out specifically to be patient with teens and do everything you can to help them avoid pitfalls. And then he talked about teach them the truth, but also teach them to be aware, in my words, make good choices.
I was listening to an interview with Steve Young, and he had an insight given to him, and I'm going to be adding it to my life because he said once someone told him about raising children, especially teens, and he shared, you cannot save your child, but the Lord can. And then he was told, your job is to love them and to model a good life. That you can control, but that's it. That's helped me a lot because I do have a 14-year-old now, and I do want him to make all the choices I want him to make, and it's not going to happen. I liked the pressure being taken off me and just the feeling of calm come over me that I can't save my child. I cannot make sure he makes every decision the way he ought to. But I really would like to make sure he's a good guy and makes the right choices and treats others the way I think he should with the experience and the knowledge I have, but I can't. I can't save him, but I can try my hardest to live a life that is worth modeling, which also feels overwhelming. But I loved the idea. You can't save them, but you can model the life that you would hope they would strive to live.
That's really good advice. In my situation, teaching kids that are a little naughty, no matter what I do, I can't save them, but I can at least explain that they do have choices that they can make, hopefully for the better. The next thing that Elder Worthland said is be patient with your parents. He said they may not be cool, but they have the experience that you lack. The next thing he said is be patient with your finances. He said stay away from get-rich-quick schemes.
Or stay tuned and learn how to sign up to sell doorknobs to all your neighbors.
Cydni selling them out of the back of her truck. The next thing is he also talked about not letting interest ruin you. And he also said, take the time to develop a plan. It takes time and work to be where you want to be. So going back to the daffodil principle, just one day at a time, he was basically saying that that's what you need to do with your finances. I thought that was really interesting because here he is talking about patience and he brought up money. I think that's a good one to listen to because I think that's an area that we might forget about.
I love that idea because if you think about the daffodils and the dirt pile, the baby steps, that if you didn't go and spend $1.50 on tacos every single Tuesday night for a long time, then you could save all that money and buy like 42 tacos at once.
Yeah, that's exactly what he meant.
And what a party that would be.
It would be quite the party. As I was reading this, of course, I thought of my parents. My mom and dad, they were pretty strict parents. They were the parents that were like, I told you once kind of people. They weren't going to tell you again.
I'm the parent that's like, I've told you 48 times and I mean it now.
So my mom, I was thinking about what they were really patient with. And my mom was always so patient in teaching me like to read and to pray and learning in general. My mom also taught me a lot about finances. The way that she taught me how to save money and spend my money was really helpful. Just as an example, when I was in high school, I was really super excited because my mom decided as a freshman in high school, she was going to open a checking account for me, and she was going to put money in my account every month. And that money was to be used for everything in high school. It was my lunch money, my activity money, anything I wanted to do at school, clothes, anything like that. So I could use my money any way I wanted. Cydni, I never even had an allowance ever. And then all of a sudden, my mom was going to put so much money in my checking account each month. So the first month we did this little activity, I thought it was the best thing ever. And then the last week, I ran out of money. So I went to my mom and I said, Mom, I don't have enough money for lunch this week. And my mom said, I gave you money. And I said, I know, but I don't have any more money. And she said, well, then it looks like you're going to be hungry.
That's awesome. I think you've actually told me this, and I couldn't remember who said it because we're doing it. You taught me this. And so for Rock, I just give him cash for a week. I'm like, this is for your lunches. So if you use it all in one place, you use it all in one place, and the rest of the week, good luck.
Really?
So thank you. I learned so much from you and your mom.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah.
But I learned really quickly that my mom was serious and that taking money seriously was also important because when you run out, it's a problem. But I was really grateful that I learned that as a 9th grader and not when I was 30.
Which is what Ben and I did. Can I just say that our parents didn't teach us. So when we were first married and lived downtown Denver, we had a fine apartment. It was beautiful. And we had valet parking. And then our life went up in flames and I got pregnant and we had no money and nothing together. And we were like, we ate out every single night. Can I just tell you, we ate at Chili's 5 days a week. I'm not lying.
Oh my
and
gosh.
one time we showed up to eat there and it was closed because it said that there was a rat infestation.
Oh
we
my
had been
gosh.
eating there.
That's so gross.
I know. And so that didn't stop us though. We kept eating out all the time. And then I got pregnant and Ben lost his job and then our life went up in flames and we're like, you know what? We should be more patient with our finances. And since then we learned. So at least it was with the first kid, not the third. That'd be tricky.
Well, everyone has to learn that lesson at some point in their life, I think.
Just in case someone out there hasn't learned, it's not too late.
Well, even when you get older, crap happens and you have to start all over.
But if you learn the habits, you can start all over.
It's true. And I have to say something about my dad. He was a get it done now kind of guy. He wanted things done now and he wanted it done quickly. And again, he told you once and that was it. But if you were learning something new, my dad had all the patience in the world. I would watch him with his grandkids and he would spend hours building, creating, painting, whatever it was. I really think that was his secret talent. And he would get so excited when you accomplished it. He loved it. So I think it is really important to have patience with others. And I'm really grateful for my parents that definitely had patience with me.
That reminded me of my dad. His patience was a little different, Sher, because he said that ideally he would have had all boys because they would have been better on the farm. But then you know what? That man was so patient as he waited for 3 more sons to be born. Good job, Dad.
Jeez. Okay. Anyway, moving on. I think, though, that it's also important that you have patience with yourself. Let's go back to the daffodil principle. It's one bulb, one baby step at a time. Elder Worthland said, recognize that we all have strengths and weaknesses, make good use of every opportunity, and do our best in every task we undertake. We should be satisfied with our progress, even though it may come slowly at times. What great advice to take every opportunity that comes our way, take advantage of it, and then work hard, then be satisfied with the progress.
I love the idea of being patient with yourself because I do believe that's one of the hardest places to be patient is with ourselves. But then I also think if you're having a hard time being patient with yourself, you cannot prevent yourself being in some ways impatient with other people. And then you actually will start yelling at strangers, which you should not do. But I think it's really important to remember that we haven't done life before. So it's okay. If you're a first timer, it's all right. Be patient with yourself.
I like that viewpoint. That's good. We are first timers at this.
I remind myself that with the routines I do every single day and I mess up. I'm like, it's okay. I've never done earth before. It's fine.
I'm going to start saying that. I like that. The other thing that Elder Worthland said is to have patience with your testimony. He said, work at it and let it grow over time. And it's okay that we don't have all the answers now. We're working on it. Be patient, study, pray, and it will grow. That is so good. I love that idea of my testimony isn't where I want it to be yet, but I'm working on it. I'm working on growing it. Just like the daffodil garden, it took years, and it's okay that I'm not at perfection yet. I'm working on it.
My mind immediately went to the daffodils too, because we could look back on our life and every individual daffodil is an experience, a prayer answered, or maybe a miracle seen, something small that has been planted and then grown together. And we could look back and see the beautiful meadow, but it is one little seed planted at a time.
This brings us to the next idea that Elder Worthland brings up. Be patient with God's plan. In his talk, he quoted Elder Neil A. Maxwell, who said, "Patience is tied very closely to faith in our Heavenly Father. Actually, when we are unduly impatient, we are suggesting that we know what is best, better than does God." I think that was a really good wake-up call for me. When things don't fit into my timeline and I get impatient, I need to remember that God knows best. That is so hard to do, but I know that I do not know more than God, and so I need to keep myself in check.
In a sermon by Grace for Purpose, I listened to someone talk about waiting for God. And when they talked about God making us wait, he says that it's to transform our character. And I loved this. He said, "It is in our waiting, it becomes, is it your way or is it God's? Is it your will or is it God's will? You're either trusting God or you're trusting yourself." He says, we are allowed to ask, "Please, God, give me a miracle." But then we need to be in a state of, I trust you and I will wait for that miracle. Waiting forces us to depend and trust on God. In Psalms 40, it says, "I waited patiently for the Lord, and he inclined unto me and heard my cry. He brought me up also out of the horrible pit and set my feet upon a rock and established my goings."
Elder Worthland also said to please remember that God has all the patience in the world. He quoted Richard L. Evans, who said, "There seems to be little evidence that the creator of the universe was ever in a hurry. Everywhere on his bounteous and beautiful earth and to the farthest reaches of the firmament, there is evidence of patient purpose and planning and working and waiting." Going back to the example of my own dad having so much patience when his kids or grandkids were trying to learn new things, can you even comprehend the joy our Father in heaven must have when we try and learn something new, or when we don't give up and we keep going? And going back to what Elder Worthland said, that God has all the patience in the world, to me that is so comforting that even though I fell, as long as I keep going, that brings my Father in heaven joy. He is a father, just like my own dad who found such joy in watching his children learn. So does our Father in heaven. I can't imagine that he doesn't celebrate with us when we accomplish a goal or learn something new. I am sure that he is so happy and proud. That comforts me because I struggle and I'm not very good at a lot of things, but he likes the progress and the fact that I'm trying. With all of us, that's how he is.
It has been said that patience is an expression of understanding. I believe that's why God has such an ability to be patient, is because he sees the overview picture. He knows the end from the beginning, and it's just hold on. It's all going to work out. I know what's going on. And when we are patient with ourselves, we too can experience what it's like to have an expression of deep understanding. That reminds me of the tapestry, this poem. "My life is but a weaving between my Lord and me. I cannot choose the colors, he worketh steadily. Oft times he weaveth sorrow, and I, in foolish pride, forget he sees the upper, and I the underside. Not till the loom is silent, and the shutters cease to fly, shall God unroll the canvas, and explain the reason why. The dark threads are as needful in the weaver's skillful hands, as the threads of gold and silver in the pattern he had planned."
This brings me to a question. So this month, our theme is to remember. So why are we talking about patience with remembering? We already know this stuff. Cydni and I didn't say anything that was earth-shattering or new. We are just reminding you to be patient with yourself, to be patient with others, to be patient with God. It's his timing. He knows best. It's all stuff that we already know. But if we could just take a moment just to remember that. So our final thoughts today is to remember the daffodil principle, that Heavenly Father wants us to keep going one bulb, one step at a time. And remember, it's God's timing. It's His purpose. He knows what's best for us in our own life. Be patient with others. Be patient with yourself. And most of all, be patient with our Heavenly Father. And remember that He has all the patience in the world.
We challenge you this week to bring back practicing the pause. The reason we want you to do it this time is that there's a reason in your life that you need to be more patient, whether it's doing something like getting rid of something, whether it's a pile of debris, or it's planting a seed that you know you need to, whether it's reaching out to a friend or a prompting that you feel. We challenge you to do one baby step towards something you need to accomplish and pause. Be patient with yourself.
This is our prayer
From Cydni and Sher.
I'm forging my way through the tip top. I'm living my life through the drip drop. When eternity's plan, I just can't stop. I'm making my way through the drip drop.
Why do you neglect your dog and then I have to come through with extra love for him every day?
I don't know. Gasped.
Gasped? Was I good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. Nailed it. Extraordinary magnificence. Extraordinary, right? Okay. Of extraordinary magnificence. Magnificence. Is that right? I don't even know now. Magnificence.
Extraordinary magnificence.
Whatever.
Today, he wants your Mountain Dew. Can
Come
I
here.
pour some in his mouth?
Fine.
50 years.
Yeah.
She's so old. I'm right up there. In 20 years, I'll be there.
20 years. That just kind of makes me want to kick you.
I'll say it like I know what I'm talking about. Shadows for your mom.
Thank you.
You ought to.
My mom's so happy.
She loved that phrase, and now I'm using it in my family life. Sometimes I laugh at my joke way harder than other people. And by sometimes, I mean every time.
Always.
Try to hold it together. I'm like, control yourself. Discipline. Laugh leader. Continue.
That's so awful.
You're stopping because your parents are so upset that you're saying
Yes,
this.
so.
They're like, say that again. I dare
know.
you.
I don't know why.
Suddenly this is going to be unplugged and then
I
blast
got
into
it.
flames. Be nice to your parents. They're listening.
I am. I'm
Be
gonna
patient
nice.
with them.
I will be nice. I promise, Mom and Dad.
Sorry for
So-
her actions. She was raised better. You're really asking me if I could. You wanted me to talk again? Have you heard me today? Be patient, Rudy.
He has to go to the bathroom.
Oh,
But-
hold it.
Come here.
If you really have to take him.
Look at him. He's like, Have a great week.